Okay, so I'm ready to table this panel, and this is the fabric that is pretty much a sheer kind of a mesh fabric, and it's wide width so I can railroad it, and I don't have any seams. So I have one enormous piece of fabric here, and I have the buckram already serged into the top, and I turned it and stapled on my Ripplefold tape, just like I explained earlier. The beauty of having your tape cut with the exact amount of snaps that you need makes it easy to fabricate the drapery, because you can just staple it on the top. And in this case, because this is a sheer drapery, I can start at the top rather than usually we start at the bottom. So if this was a lined drapery, I wouldn't have this already snapped on, but because it's sheer, I can just snap it on and start tabling, and the top is already done. And then all I'm doing now when I'm tabling this is getting in the side hems along the sides and then the hem at the bottom of the table, which obviously I can only do a width at a time. Basically 60 inches is how wide the table is. So this is kind of equivalent to 4 widths of 54-inch fabric. So I have my ruler set up here at the finished length, and I'm going to pin the top right at the ruler and then get everything smooth at the end and then put in the hem. So the reason I have the very end kind of clipped in with these clips rather than stapled is because I have to still turn my side hem. So here's the raw edge of the fabric, and I have my side hem 3 inches pinned into place, so I don't forget to, allow enough fabric for that. That's going to get turned in, and then once it's tabled and double turned and all pressed in nice and neatly, then I can go ahead and secure this. But I have to leave it open for now so I have enough room to work on that. But everything else all the way down to the other end, which also looks like this, the other end is also open. That's how I'm going to proceed with this drapery before I can get to the hemmer and hem all the hems, the side hems and the bottom hem. Obviously, I have to table it first and get everything to length and get the side hems in. So I just wanted to show how this looks at this point, because it's really easy right now at this point to make this drapery because all the hard work is done. The tape is cut to size and it's already secure on the header. Now I just have to table the drapery to length. So that is what you'll see next. Okay, so I have the very first side hem tabled to length on this one big sheer panel. And I have the other side marked with pins along a line on the table. So these pins are going to tell me where, when I move it, where to start over here. So I'm going to line up all of those pins that are pinned into the fabric along that edge. I'm going to line those up over on this side because I'm ready now to move this fabric over to the next section, because you can see how much more I have laying here to go. So I'll have to do that a couple more times until I get the whole thing tabled and get all of this fabric down here up onto the table so I can get to the other side hem on this side. So all of the fabric that's here is going to end up on the floor on that side of the table, and that will be the whole thing. So I just wanted to show you how that looks, because it's hard to see from far away how I do this. So I can see through the fabric and I can pin along a line to make sure that I keep the fabric nice and square on the table, because I know that the top of the drapery is square lined up with this ruler, and the bottom is square where I put the bottom hem. That side is square on that line, so I got to keep this line square when I move it over to the next section. So I'm gonna keep going until I get to the other end. Okay, so I have this panel almost ready to take to the blind stitch machine, but first I have to finish the bottom hem. I like to table the whole panel and get the length pressed in, which is right here, and it creases really nicely, this fabric does. So I didn't even pin it, but I did go ahead and cut down the double 4-inch hem just on each end. So right here, and then all the way on the other end, which is on the floor, just so I could finish tabling the side hems. And now I'm going to take it and turn the whole thing the long way on the table so that I can finish putting in the bottom hem more all at once instead of a little section at a time. So that's just me. I like to do that the other way. But after I do that, then I can take it to the blind stitch machine and hem all the side hems and the bottom hem. And then I can go and stitch on the Ripplefold tape, and then it's done. So I have the drapery laying long ways on the table now, and I'm gonna cut off the extra and leave 8 inches so that I can make a double 4-inch hem. And then we're gonna put this beaded weight into the hem. This is gonna be a weighted hem. So this will go in the bottom, and then we can take the whole thing to the hemmer and stitch up the hems. Okay, so this panel is almost finished. It actually is finished, but I like to snap on these pendants so that it's really easy for the installer to hang these drapes once he gets the rod up. And in this case, the rod is already up, so this is gonna be super easy for him to just go back to the job and hang it up. Push these in and that's it. So I'm gonna snap these on, and remember, the first 3 on each side of the panel go into these guys, so they don't need these guys. So I'm just gonna skip the first 3 on each end, and then the rest of the snaps are gonna get a plastic pendant. This is called a pendant. And it's a little bit hard to snap it on with your hand. It's possible, but when you have so many to do, it's easier to just use a little tool, like a pliers, and snap it on. And I protect the fabric, so I wrapped up half of the pliers with some duct tape, and there you go. That's how I do it. So I'm just gonna snap these on, and then I can wrap it up. And this is one of 2, so I'll have 1 more of these to make for this fabric, and then 2 more to make out of the other fabric. And of course, this is harder to do on camera than off camera, but you get the idea. This is why I like to do this for the installer, because he'll be in and out. Otherwise, he'd be fumbling with this. And they're probably faster than me, but still, it saves them time. I think there is a tool that is specifically meant for this, but I don't have that tool, so there we go. I'm gonna do all the ones on this side first, and then I'll go back and do the ones on the other side, because I can switch the way I do it. Okay, we got all of the pendants snapped on except for 3 on that side and 3 on this side. And I double checked, I got them all. So that means this panel is finished and I have my plastic cut. So the best part of any project is wrapping it up, and then you can cross it off your list. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm not even sure it's all gonna fit in the plastic. Let's go this way. I might need a bigger piece of plastic. Hold on. Okay, that's better. I was able to organize the pleats and kind of like fold them over on top of the panel down here. You can see all of this is the Ripplefold tape part. It's kind of funny, but this will keep it nice and neat while it's waiting for install. There we go. Now I can tie it up. And then I have a ticket with the finish width, finish length, designer, client, and which room this goes in. And I'll stick that on the bag, and that one's done. After years and years of making Ripplefold draperies and struggling with some of the steps, I've come up with many techniques and processes that I do to help make the whole process of making a Ripplefold drapery a lot easier. So you just saw me make 2 drapes in this sheer fabric with the extra snaps on each end, and I'm gonna just review the things that I did that I do anytime I'm making a sheer Ripplefold drapery, because the steps are always the same. The only thing that's different is how many snaps you need. And also, the only thing that may be different is the width of the sheer. And this was a nice sheer to work with because it was a wide width, so I had no seams to worry about, and I could railroad the fabric, and that made that part easier. So anyway, here's my 12 tips for making your Ripplefold draperies much easier. Okay, number 1, cut your Ripplefold tape first before you cut your fabric. So this is the tape, and you want to know exactly how many snaps you need so that you cut this to the exact size before you cut your fabric. So that's step number 2, is do not cut your fabric until you can count the carriers on the rod. So that means you have to have a little planning going on and know when your rods are gonna arrive, or when the designer is gonna receive them, and make plans to go and count the carriers. And that way you can cut your tape before you cut your fabric. Okay, so number 3, prepare the tape so that the ends match up to the master carriers, whether it's the butt master or the overlap master carrier. So remember, these were the butt master carriers that look like this. And so we made sure that the first 2 are 1 inch apart on each end, and then this third one wraps around to that single snap on the carrier. Then number 4, since we are working on a sheer, you want to serge on your buckram on the top if you're gonna make these with buckram, which I typically do. So serge on your buckram on the top, and then start from the top down rather than bottom up, which is the normal way you would make a drapery, is from the bottom up. But in this case, we're gonna start from the top down. And then you double turn your buckram and get that ready for the tape. And then once your buckram is in place and it's turned, it's pressed, it's ready to go, then step number 5 is staple this tape onto your header. And that way you know exactly where to start tabling the side hem on this side and the side hem on the other side by having this stapled onto the header. So it makes the tabling process go a lot easier, and there's no question about where to start and where to stop. Number 6 is when you are finished tabling and you finished all your hems and you're ready to sew this on at the machine, you're going to start on the top edge first, and you're going to use a special skinny foot that will fit right next to these snaps. So that is actually step number 9. Actually, after you sew your top edge, then you're going to remove your staples. So that's number 7, remove the staples before you sew your bottom edge. And then step 9 is use a skinny foot. So that could actually be step 6. Use a skinny foot when sewing this on, and then sew your top edge first, then remove your staples, then sew the bottom edge. And when you are sewing on the bottom edge, that is the next step. You're going to smooth out the fabric to make sure that the fabric behind the tape doesn't get caught up into the stitching or create a bubble. So make sure you smooth out that fabric. And that's why you have to remove the staples. And then next step, number 10, fan fold the drapes to train the waves. So this is the fan fold that I did. And then when you're doing that, this is step number 11 of the easy steps. Pull the whole panel off the table so it's hanging off the edge of the table, and that will make the fan folding a lot easier because otherwise they're gonna stack up really tall. So that's another easy tip for you. And then the last one I have is to snap on these pendants before you wrap it up completely. So you should have a bag of these that come with your hardware, and you want to snap them onto the snaps before you send it out to installation. That will make the install go a lot faster and smoother, and you'll have a very happy installer that will tell everybody how amazing you are. So hopefully that is a helpful list of things to do when you're making your Ripplefold drapery. And we're about to start the next 2 panels for this project, and that's why I have another little pile of snap tape here. And this fabric is not a sheer, so there's another step that I did on this one that I didn't have to do on this one, because I want to make sure my seams are going to land where I want them to land. So I've marked this tape where the seams should land. So we'll go into more of that in the next video and show you those tricks when dealing with seams. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope that helped. Hope it all makes sense. Bye.